Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. My name is Chris McNerney, and I'm a police sergeant with the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. My role with the Port Authority is that of their court liaison sergeant. I deal with multiple superior and municipal courts throughout New Jersey, in Bergen, Hudson, Middlesex, and Union County, and all the jurisdictions that they cover within there, the City of Newark, City of Elizabeth. So I have a dynamic overview of the impact that bail reform has had in the state of New Jersey. On January 1st of 2017, New Jersey implemented bail reform, and it has been quite a failure in New Jersey. Regardless of what you read, I'm one of the boots on the ground that argues on a daily basis in this failed system. They went from a monetary-based bail system to one that is based on risk assessment. They use an algorithm that gives them a numeric value from 1 to 6 in 3 areas: their likelihood to flee, their likelihood to commit another crime, and the likelihood that their new crime will be that of a violent nature. The legislation was unfunded. It was put on the counties, the courts, the municipalities, and the police departments, and it has been a financial burden. With that, part of bail reform included hiring additional personnel, the creation of pretrial services. The creation of pretrial services, they took many of the experienced and senior talented prosecutors at municipal levels, and they left for better jobs in this new system, leaving us with inexperienced prosecutors to prosecute these crimes. When bail reform was implemented, they didn't really know how the pretrial services was going to be managed. It's by county basis. In the county of Essex, shortly into bail reform, they were releasing people who had committed serious crimes with an ankle bracelet. About a month and a half into it, they had to call them back to retrieve the ankle monitors to give them to people who had committed more serious crimes than them. With that, they've eliminated the bail bondsman, who was another asset to us, who monitored people out on bail, tracked them, and ensured their appearance in court. There were numerous cases where people had committed serious crimes, such as the one in Ocean County, the 20-year-old sex offender who was charged with attempting sexual assault on a 12-year-old girl. He offered to give her a gaming console in exchange for sex, and he was released with a ankle monitor. The chief of police in that municipality challenged his release up to the highest court, but under the directive of the Attorney General, he met release. He took it upon himself, as he said, in the interest of public safety, to go to Facebook and warn people that the state had allowed this charged sex offender to be released back into the community in which this 12-year-old girl lived. Additionally, the case of Jules Black, who was arrested for possession of a handgun. He was released. His public safety assessment said he was not a threat to public safety. 3 days after his release, he murdered Christian Rogers. His mother has filed a federal lawsuit saying that New Jersey has the liability for releasing this person back into the public. This system of bail reform has created a revolving door where criminals are repeatedly arrested and let go. In Union County, they finally arrested somebody for the 11th time for burglaries, robberies, where he was repeatedly let back into the community and allowed to victimize 10 other people. In the state of New Jersey, aggravated assault on a police officer is a summonsable offense. You can be fighting with a prisoner, and a couple of hours later, you'll be handing him a summons as he walks out the door. I can tell you that that's disheartening as a member of the law enforcement community, that you're not valued that that crime was committed against you. More alarming, though, is these people being released back into the streets. The system of bail that had been in place is replaced with this new bail reform where municipalities and jurisdiction argue over releasing the prisoners. I had one individual who had 7 warrants for his arrest. He was arrested on new charges. When I contacted 2 of the municipalities, they were arguing over who was going to come get him, the person with the highest bail with 10% or the other municipality. At the end of the argument, they both issued him an ROR, released on his own recognizance. All 7 warrants were vacated, and he was released back into the community because of this bail reform. In my experiences, bail reform in New Jersey has been a failed venture at the risk of public safety. Bail reform is something that should be researched and studied and not haphazardly implemented as it was in New Jersey, a system of trial and error. In addition to the financial burden that is placed on the courts, the municipalities, and the police departments, I think the cost to the public is far greater. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We appreciate you sharing your experiences. I know Senator Gallivan has some questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I actually had some questions. I did want to ask you about New Jersey's experience, so I appreciate you sharing that. And
Thank you.
it certainly gives us a place to go to look into it to make a comparison. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Assemblyman Oaks.
Just a quick question. Earlier, when we talked about the proposal, I raised the issue of open warrants, that are always a problem. Do you have any numbers on or any sense on, since going to that in New Jersey, whether you've had a lot more open warrants of people not appearing?
I think the majority of people who they fail to appear. Part of my duties is the acceptance of subpoenas and scheduling police officers for courts within New Jersey. And the majority of the cases result in a failure to appear with a bench warrant for the defendant. So statistical numbers I don't have, but the majority of the cases in which my officers go to, there's a failure to appear. So if somebody is released and they fail to appear, they may have 2 or 3 matters outstanding. When they are rearrested and scheduled to go to court, there can be 4 or 5 officers who appear, and yet again, the defendant will fail to appear. That's 5 officers who are not working their normal patrol duties. They're assigned to court for the day.
But your sense would be, since doing the bail reform, that is increased?
I think under the, I believe that it is increased. I don't have the numbers, but I think under the old system, the defendants were more likely to appear because they had a bail or they had a bail bondsman ensuring their appearance in court.
Thank you.
Senator Savina.
Thank you, Officer Ed, for your testimony. So while you were talking, I pulled up some numbers on New Jersey because they're just about at the end of their first year. So one of the things that they apparently didn't anticipate is while they would be saving money by not having people locked up, they're spending money on the other end, and they didn't fund that. So it's about $45 million, according to this report. The state of New Jersey now has to fund for their pretrial system. Apparently it's a lot more expensive than they thought. Do you see the same type of proposal? Is what we're proposing in New York a mirror image of what New Jersey did? Could we wind up with the same costs, and our state is much larger?
My understanding of the New York proposal is it doesn't include a public safety assessment, that just by statute the defendant would be released. In New Jersey, they have the public safety assessment. I know that the New York proposal does contain pretrial services. I'm assuming here that there would be some type of an assessment regarding his suitability to be released at some point. In regards to the cost of bail reform, that number, some of the numbers are unaccounted for because it was unfunded legislation, so the costs fell on the counties, the courts, the police departments, and I don't know if they could properly track, how much that cost them.
It's interesting, according to this report also, the crime statistics from the New Jersey State Police show no major bump in violent offenses across New Jersey. However, some of the mayors in New Jersey, particularly the mayor of Newark, has been very critical. He said that many of the defendants who were facing firearms charges are back on the street and shootings are up in the city of Newark. Do you have any information about that?
No, I probably read the same article you're reading. The mayor of Newark, Ross Baraka,
Right.
and the police director of Newark, Anthony Ambrose, are adamantly against bail reform due to the increase in shootings and crimes in the city of Newark.
I think we all agree that people who shouldn't be sitting in jail pre-trial shouldn't be forced to sit there simply because they can't afford to make bail. I just think we need to approach this carefully so that we solve that problem and not create another problem. So I want to thank you for your testimony and forward to continuing this discussion.